Is progress being made when it comes to ICP and things surrounding it? Well, fundamentally, I'd like to think so, even though nothing I say is financial advice. And the reason why is because in a very recent post, Caffeine AI announced something I think that was pretty cool. Like, for instance, they announced how there was over 100 apps that are now live on the caffeine app market, and they say how together they've been remixed around 40,000 times. Now, let's just think about this. What is remixing in this case, right? It's like, for instance, let's say there's an app there, someone could try to remix it and maybe try to make a better version of it, maybe try to improve it here and there. It's kind of like, for instance, someone makes a song or a musician makes a song, and then a DJ or let's say someone out there tries to remix the song, try to make it a little bit better. Maybe they speed it up, or maybe they make it slower, or they add another beat to it, or they try to increase the treble or the bass or whatever, right? That's just kind of the same analogy, but then it's actually for apps this time, in which case, again, there's over 100 apps live on the caffeine app market, and they've been remixed supposedly around 40,000 times, which I think showcases that, first of all, there is somewhat of a demand there when it comes to Caffeine AI. Caffeine AI is apparently, allegedly, a self-running apps platform. So at least I can see a little bit of a demand there. First of all, I think that is the case. And second of all, what I think I'm seeing is that there's still a belief during a time when there usually isn't that much. What do I mean by this? When is usually like the worst time to launch an app? People like to ask me that question. Now, I'm not a developer, I don't know, but from what I can see in terms of the sentiment, a lot of developers typically don't want to launch things when the market isn't doing the best. Now, they have a lot of reasons, but I feel like a major reason why is because if the market isn't doing the best, usually the demand isn't the best, right? So why would they be launching things at a time when the demand clearly isn't the best? It just doesn't make sense in a lot of cases, which is why at a time like right now, usually a lot of developers don't really want to build things within this space. However, still seeing those statistics when it comes to caffeine AI, right? And seeing that at a time like right now, that's very impressive in my opinion. It's like, imagine if, let's say, the market wasn't doing the best, yet there was still some activity when it comes to a project within that market. I think it may showcase a belief in which we don't usually expect it at a time like that. That's just the way you take a look at it. So when I view something like Caffeine AI, I don't think it was a flop. I don't think it was a failure. I think that it just didn't align well with the sentiment regarding the altcoin space. But you know what? It is what it is, right? But still, even despite all that, despite all the odds that they had to endure, when it comes to Caffeine AI, it's still able to show these type of statistics. So I think if anything, it could actually only be a net positive for the sentiment, I think, overall, when it comes to the future of ICP. Now, people like to tell me, well, ICP is still low. It's still well below $2.50. Yes, that's true. So it didn't really do much ever since my last video when it comes to ICP. But at the same time as well, my perspective is that as of right now, a bunch of projects are having a pullback. It's not only just ICP. So it's not like ICP is the only one out there that's experiencing this. No, that's not the case. However, also on top of that, if let's say the common denominator is that a project usually as of right now is having a pullback, like for instance, Bitcoin's having a pullback, so is ICP, right? So is Ethereum, so is XLM and all this. So if the common denominator is that projects which are considered good, and in some other cases, projects which are kind of not considered to be so good, if they're in both categories having a pullback, what am I going to be focusing on? I'm going to be focusing not on the micro caps, not on the random memes I've never heard of. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be focusing on the projects which I like fundamentally, and which projects which I still feel like I still, again, see some activity. In which case, I do hypothetically see that when it comes to this, and I think Dfinity is clearly still putting the effort. I still think they're putting the time and the energy towards the internet computer and also something like Caffeine AI. And it's only logical for me to assume that, I mean, if there's this much activity going on when it comes to Caffeine AI, there has to at least be some effort that was put in, right? In terms of effort, again, sometimes if they put in a lot of effort, we sometimes do see that as a result. Not always in every single case, but I do see it here. So I do like seeing this. Now, imagine had Caffeine AI launched back then, like let's say, right, Caffeine AI for whatever reason became such a big narrative, like let's say if we take a look at it in 2024, let's just imagine that was the case. Like, for instance, in 2024, we saw ICP reach almost $19, but that was really without much talks, if any, at all, right, when it comes to Caffeine AI, because of course Caffeine AI launched recently. So how could that have been the case back then? But besides that point, though, back in April of 2024, when ICP was almost at $19, I mean, could you just imagine if Caffeine AI was this popular right now, but back then? Would the ceiling be almost $19 at that point, or would it be above 20, right? It wouldn't surprise me if it was above 20 just because ICP was able to do that back in 2024. First of all, without altcoin season. Second of all, without Caffeine AI. And also without the Mission 70 proposal recently getting approved. Mission 70, by the way, is the strategic plan to cut ICP inflation by 70% by the end of this year. So again, these three key factors were missing back then in 2024, yet ICP was doing better back then. So imagine if the sentiment returned back to that point, but then now we add these layers, right? Like Caffeine AI, like Mission 70. So imagine if all of that was kind of added on and then the sentiment returned back to where it once was. I'm going to Sizzler at that point, right? But here's the thing, ICP does not need to ever go to nearly $19 again. If it never ever does that, just goes to maybe even at this point like $10, who knows? I have like zero complaints. But that's just the way I take a look at the situation. So when people like to tell me that, oh, when it comes to ICP, it's cooked and all this, I just highly disagree with that from a fundamental standpoint of view. Yeah, sure, it's not doing the best as of right now, but from a fundamental standpoint of view, I don't see why it's so bad to me. Now, the reason why I am not like concerned or like worried when it comes to ICP is because my intent isn't to leave in a week or 2 weeks or whatever. That's not my style. My style is when I believe in something, I treat it like a long-term thing. I just treat it like a routine, like, just dollar cost averaging once a month, that's it. It's kind of like washing my car, right? Or taking care of my plants. Taking care of my plants, taking care of my car, that's just like a routine thing. I don't like, think about it 24/7, but I do treat it like a routine thing. It's no different here. I just treat it like a routine. So when people like to tell me that, oh, when it comes to ICP, it's so bad and all this, I just don't have that mindset because my mindset is if I treat it like a routine and I still see the project improving, yet the charts are low, I'll still be gladly dollar cost averaging. And again, I have just zero complaints because ICP is over 4 times lower than a point in which we've seen not too long ago. Again, just last year, we saw ICP at $10. We're over 4 times lower than that as of right now. So again, if things could only just go back to that, I'm going to Sizzler. But it's a time will tell type of scenario. It requires waiting, right? It may never happen, but I like to wait just hypothetically in case maybe, but it doesn't mean it will. But I just like to stay waiting nonetheless because that's just kind of the way I take a look at it. That's my style. That's the lead, the captain style. That's the way, again, I view it. Again, this is just personally what I'm doing. But in the meantime, I'm still happily dollar cost averaging, still waiting, still staying patient because that's all I can do. But when I saw that recent post when it comes to Caffeine AI, I was very impressed. So of course, I naturally wanted to talk about it. However, I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you have a very nice day. I'll be sure to make more updates when it comes to the internet computer moving forward. So hopefully again, y'all stay tuned for that. Again, it's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.